You know, when you look at the history of the NHL, especially Toronto Maple Leafs, this guy stands out on numerous levels because of his dedication, his talent, his overall presence in the game, and it was with great condolences and great sadness we announced the death of George Armstrong. Now, George Armstrong, who passed away January 24th, 2021 at the age of 90. Played 21 seasons in the NHL, all for the Maple Leafs. Now, he skated in almost 1,200 games between 1950 and 1971, all with Toronto, and that's a franchise record. He was also the team's captain for 13 seasons. He won 4 Stanley Cups with the Buds, played in 7 NHL All-Star games, and he also scored the final goal of the NHL's original 6 era as Toronto won the 67 Stanley Cup with a Game 6 victory at home against Montreal, and he had the empty netter. Now, born in Skeid, Ontario, July 6, 1930, of course, he came to major prominence by playing junior and senior hockey in the Toronto Marlies organization. Now, he's also a member of the 1950 Allan Cup winning team as senior champions of Canada. He returned to the Marlies following his playing career and coached a junior team to 2 Memorial Cups. He also served as a scout for the Quebec Nordiques, as an assistant GM of the Maple Leafs, and for part of the '89 season as Toronto's head coach. He was inducted in the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1975, and the Maple Leafs honored his uniform number 10 in '98, and later officially retired the number, along with 10 others, during a pre-game ceremony on October 15th, 2016. Now, he was born to an Irish-Canadian father and an Ojibwe mother, which made him one of the few Aboriginal hockey players of the original 6 era. He grew up in Falconbridge, Ontario, where his father was a nickel miner. For a lot of people know, Falconbridge is one of the major mining companies across Canada, or was in that era. Now, sport was an important part of the Armstrong family, as his father played soccer and his mother was a noted canoeist. The younger Armstrong developed a passion for hockey, but was a poor skater, which his father believed was a consequence of a case of spinal meningitis, a disease actually I did suffer from as a young child as well. It affected my motor skills until my early teens. Now, in George's case, he suffered at the age of 6. Now, anybody knows people with meningitis, they struggle with cognitive and other issues, but George was smart as a whip, one of the most intelligent and outgoing players the Leafs ever had. Now, while attending Sudbury High School, Sudbury, of course, the nickel mine area, he played on the hockey team with Red McCarthy and Tim Horton. Now, inspired by a newspaper advertisement offering tryouts with the Copper Cliff Redmen of the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey Association, he convinced Horton and McCarthy to join him in trying out. They made the team, and Armstrong began his junior career at the late age of 16 in the 1947 season. He recorded 6 goals and 5 assists in 9 games and caught the attention of scouts. He was playing primarily right winger at the time. Now, the Maple Leafs eventually signed him to their protected list, and he also played with the Prince Albert Blackhawks for part of that initial season. Armstrong quit school in grade 11 to focus on his hockey career, and the rest is history. Now, the Maple Leafs eventually placed Armstrong at the Stratford Crawlers in the OHA for the 47-48 season. He led the league in both assists and points and was named recipient of the Rel Tilson Trophy as the OHA's most valuable player. That was the junior OHA. Now promoted to the Marlies for the 49th season, Armstrong had 62 points in 39 games with the junior squad and played in 3 regular season and 10 postseason matches for the senior Marlies. He remained with the senior Marlies in 50, where he served as captain. He led the OHA senior division with 64 goals at the time, which was an OHA record, and recorded 115 points in 39 games. He was again named a winner of the Tilson Trophy. Now, the Maple Leafs briefly recalled Armstrong during the 1950 season as he made his NHL debut on December 3rd, 1949. He appeared in 2 games before returning to the Marlies. In the 1950 Allan Cup, he recorded 19 goals and 19 assists in 14 games as the Marlies won the senior Canadian title. It was also during the season he earned his nickname. While visiting the Stony Mountain Reserve in Alberta with the Marlies, the locals presented Armstrong with a ceremonial headdress and called him Big Chief Shoot-the-Puck, owing to his Ojibwe heritage. The nickname was often shortened to Chief. Now, according to words of King Clancy, who was assessing Armstrong in his career, this kid's got everything. He has size, speed, and they can't shoot him in the net better than any hockey player I've known in a long time. I'll be surprised if he doesn't become a superstar. Now, upon fully turning professional in 1951, he was signed to the Toronto's AHL affiliate, the Pittsburgh Hornets. In 71 games for Pittsburgh, he had 15 goals and 48 points. Now, despite being hampered by hand and wrist injuries, suffering in fights, he was the AHL's leading goal scorer and stood second in points by mid-season in 1952. He was then recalled to Toronto during the season and scored his first NHL goal against goalie Jerry McNeil of the longtime rivals the Montreal Canadiens. It was the first goal ever scored by a player with First Nation heritage. He finished the season with 3 goals and 3 assists in 20 games with Toronto. Now, though he missed the start of the 53 season due to a separated shoulder, he earned a permanent spot on the Maple Leafs roster. He quietly established himself as an important contributor for Toronto by recording 25 points that season, then scoring 32 points the following year and 26 in 1955. A 48-point season in 56 was second on the team to Todd Sloan 66. He then led the Leafs in scoring with 44 points in 57, despite missing 14 of his team's games. He was also named to play in the NHL All-Star Game in both seasons, and they were the first of 2 of 7 he ultimately played in. Now, when he was named captain in 58, he succeeded Teddy Kennedy and Jim Thompson, who had served as co-captains the season before. He was fourth in team scoring with 42, then played in his third All-Star Game during the 59 campaign. He recorded 4 assists in the playoffs as the Maple Leafs reached the final but lost to the Habs. With 51 points in 1960, he finished 1 point behind Bob Pulford for the team lead. Toronto again reached the finals, where they lost again to Montreal. Now, the Maple Leafs finally reached the NHL's peak 2 seasons later, where Armstrong set a career high with 53 points in the 62 campaign, then added 12 points in 12 playoff games for Toronto. He started a play that resulted in a Stanley Cup clinching goal, rushing the puck up the ice before passing to Tim Horton, who then passed to Dick Duff, that capped off a 2-1 victory in the 6th deciding game against Chicago. As Maple Leafs captain, he was presented the trophy by league president Clarence Campbell. It was the first of 3 consecutive cups for Toronto, as the Maple Leafs of 62-64 became the unofficial 4th dynasty in NHL history. Individually, Armstrong scored 21, 19, and 20 goals over the 3 seasons, and by virtue of the NHL's All-Star Game format at the time, that had the defending champion play the All-Stars of the remaining 5 teams, he appeared in his 4th, 5th, and 6th All-Star Games. Early in the 64 campaign, he scored his 200 NHL goal. Now, a 37-point season following 65, then 51 points for 66. By 67, Armstrong led an aging Maple Leafs team that had entered the playoffs as an underdog against a dominant Chicago squad. The Maple Leafs nonetheless eliminated the Blackhawks in 6 to set up the 67 Stanley Cup final against Montreal. The Canadiens were so confident of victory that a display area for the Stanley Cup had been set up at the Quebec Pavilion at Expo 67 prior to the series start. However, the Maple Leafs dashed Montreal's hopes by winning the championship in 6 games in some tightly fought contests. Now again, he scored the final goal of the series in an empty net in a 3-1 win in the deciding contest, and it also was the last goal scored in the original 6. Because in 68, it would double in size with the expansion teams that include teams from the East and West Coast. Now, he did announce his intention to retire as a player following the championship, but changed his mind and returned for another season. The Maple Leafs had placed him under protected list for the 67 expansion draft, and he remained with Toronto. He played in the 7 All-Star Game in 68 and finished the season with 34 points. Now retiring following the season before changing his mind again before an annual event for Armstrong, as he announced his intention to leave the game in 5 straight seasons. It was kind of a running joke. He did remain a consistent scorer for Toronto, recording 27, 28, and 25 points in his following 3 seasons. He finally ended his playing career after the 71 season to take a front office position for the Maple Leafs, and also he finished his career with 296 goals, 4 goals away from the magic 300. Now, Armstrong was announced as the head coach of his former junior team, the Marlies, in July '72. Though he had preferred his previous role as a scout to coaching, he led the Marlies to Memorial Cup victories on 2 occasions in '73 and '75 with his direct, friendly style. In '77, Armstrong named circulated as a possible successor to Maple Leafs head coach Red Kelly when the latter was fired by the squad. When approached by the organization with the prospect of assuming head coaching duties, however, Armstrong rejected the possibility. His decision resulted in animosity from within the organization and subsequently led to his resignation as coach of the Marlies that season to accept the scouting post with the WHA's Quebec Nordiques. Now, some 10 years later, he returned to the Maple Leafs organization in the dual capacities of assistant GM and scout. During the '89 season, and after management had fired head coach John Brophy, a very unpopular decision, team owner Harold Ballard was adamant that Armstrong be named Brophy's replacement. He agreed to take the position, but he increasingly delegated a majority of his duties to assistant coach Gary LaRiviere. The Maple Leafs finished with 17 wins and 47 games Armstrong had coached. He was eventually replaced by Doug Carpenter the following season and returned to his scouting capacities with the team. He remained a scout for the rest of his life, and in '73 he was also selected as Coach of the Year by his peers in the OHL. Now, the playing style of George Armstrong can be best described as consistent. He was a grinder, a consistent, durable, hard-working player throughout his career. Now, a consummate leader, Armstrong was lauded by team owner Connie Smythe as the best captain, the Leafs have ever had. His 713 career points were the second most all-time in franchise history at the time of his retirement, and as of a few years ago remains still top 10. His 1,187 NHL games are most by any player in Toronto history, and he remains a franchise leader with 417 career assists and 713 points by the right winger. Now, he was also the co-recipient with Bob Pulford of the J.B. Piquel Memorial Award in '59. The award is presented to members of the organization who perform with a high standard of excellence. In '98, the franchise honored his uniform number 10 by designated him as a legacy number, and in 2013, he was also named number 14 on Sportsnet's list of the greatest Maple Leafs. Now, his induction of the Hockey Hall of Fame in '75 led to his induction in the Ontario Sports Hall of Fame in 2010. Now, Armstrong was a longtime resident of Leaside, a neighborhood in Toronto, and often spent time with his family riding throughout the area. Aside from his coaching career in professional hockey, he coached sports teams around his community and contributed his time to coaching the first floor hockey team for the Canadian Special Olympics. In Toronto, Beverly Street Public School was the foundation of this floor hockey team. Now, he resided in Toronto with his wife Betty, and a couple had 4 children, Brian, Betty Ann, Fred, and Lauren. He was also the uncle of Dale McCourt, a former first-round overall draft pick by the Red Wings in the '77 amateur draft. Now, when given a day with the Stanley Cup in 2005, which wasn't a tradition back when he won it, he elected to have a family gathering with it at his son's home in Vaughan, Ontario. His granddaughter, Kaylee, was a team captain with the Harvard Crimson women's ice hockey team, and she joined Kelly Patton's coaching staff for the Western Mustangs women's ice hockey program in the autumn of 2016. His best friend was Bryce Black, who won the cup by his side. Armstrong was also recognized by the NHL for charitable efforts in '69 when he was named the inaugural recipient of the Charlie Conacher Humanitarian Award. Now, proud of his native heritage, he's often supported programs organized by both Indian Northern Affairs and non-governmental agencies that aim to promote positive role models for First Nation children. Now, he had a brief film career, appearing as himself in the Canadian B movie classic Face Off, which is known internationally as Winter Comes Early, and he plays himself, and he's the best George Armstrong to ever play George Armstrong. Now, again, the coaching record with Toronto, 17-26-4. The junior record with the Marlies, tremendous. Best season, of course, was that Memorial Cup run in 1973, 47-7-9, where he won the J. Ross Robertson Cup and the Memorial Cup that year. Now, overall in the OHA, 206, 140, 57, 2 J. Ross Robertson Cups and 2 Memorial Cups. Awards and honors: Red Tilson Trophy, winner 48 and 50, Allan Cup champion 1950, All-Star Game 7 times, J.P. Piquel Memorial Award, Stanley Cup champion 4 times, Charlie Conacher Humanitarian Award, and 2 times Memorial Cup champion as coach. And one of the few athletes or coaches to win, Allan Cup, Stanley Cup, and Memorial Cup. So tremendous time. Now, thoughts on his passing. Toronto has had a lot of legacy over the years. They've lost a lot of tremendous players over the last few years. George Armstrong, for us in the media, was always somebody we looked up to. He was him and Johnny Bauer and a few others. The only way you can describe the Toronto Maple Leafs, you look how hard George had played, look how he led different people. The Maple Leafs 4 Cups in the 1960s make them, again, tied with Montreal as the best dynasty of that decade. And you look at the 2 times he lost to Montreal in the late 50s, early 60s. So it easily could have been 6 Cups. But back then it was all hard with Toronto. Timmy Horton, Davey Keon, Sawchuk. They won the backs like Ron Ellis. Hard work got them there. They weren't the best team in the league in the regular season, but when it came to the playoffs, it was hard to beat them. Like Bobby Bond, and you could go on forever, Red Kelly. So for all the fans of George Armstrong and Toronto Nation, you have our condolences. And he's going to look down on us and protect us into COVID, because I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, that the NHL will do something special for George Armstrong this season. Not sure it is, but I'd like to see the division this year, the title for the division, called the George Armstrong Memorial Trophy, because we have the All-Canadian division. I think you should give a special trophy to the team that wins the division and name it after George Armstrong, in my personal opinion. Anyway, thanks for listening. Bye.